swimmer. Oh, hi everyone. This week has been cold. In fact, the last couple of weeks have been very cold. We've had ice in the bird baths and frosty, icy mornings. So, as you can see, the beans are, well, dead, and there's tiny little ones left on here that are not yet completely ruined that I'm going to just pop into whatever I make. But this week is a week of cleaning up and doing many little jobs in the garden.
Bok, I'm Mandy O. This is Grow, Make, Cook, and welcome to my garden. I grew up in Australia in a permaculture family, but after we got married, Mr. O and I moved here to his home country of Croatia. I am a passionate and hands-on homemaker and gardener, and I love life's simple pleasures. So join me on my journey, and together we can learn to grow, make, and cook. This is the 4th week in October, or listopad.
I have been really very lazy for the last 2 or 3 weeks even. So all of this are my squashes and tomatoes, and none of it's going to ripen because it's all been frozen now. So all I'm doing is just ripping all of these up and chucking everything on the compost heap. Autumn is really great for composting and getting things done because you've got so much to add. Now, you may be saying to yourself, or at least saying in your head, Mandy, these still look all right. You know, they've clearly gone over, but they're still growing. Why are you ripping all of these, especially the Tuscan kale, which can freeze just fine? Why are you ripping it all up? And the answer is simple. Keeping a lot of these annual plants in when they're overwintering can encourage pests and disease. So what I want to do is clear away any of the food that would harbor diseases and pests that I'm really trying to avoid keeping in the garden. There's a very fine line between cutting enough stuff back so that it'll overwinter carefully and quietly, and also sometimes it can be really beneficial leaving foliage on because the leaves and things can act as protection for the plants over winter. And so it's a bit of a hard call to make sometimes, to tidy or not to tidy. But this here is my mint, and it's still smelling delightful even though it's quite frostbitten in places. And I think this one, it's tough enough to take a really good tidy. I have here some chrysanthemums. Now, I did have some before, and as you can clearly see by the empty garden beds, they didn't thrive. The original plants didn't survive, and, well, look, it was a bit of a miserable failure, but I'm trying again. And that is because next Monday here is the 1st of November, which is Dan Svi Sveti, which quite literally translates to Day of All Saints, but it's more akin to something like the Day of the Dead, or the idea of the original All Hallows Eve. And this is that the 1st of November is a day when people go and pay their respects to their loved ones that have passed. So, what I'm doing instead of visiting the graveyard, because I've only newly moved here and I don't have any relatives of my family or people that I've loved here to visit in the graveyard. So we're doing a little bit of remembrance in our own way here this year. And so instead of taking these flowers, which are traditional, chrysanthemums are traditional here for this particular festival. So for the Day of the Dead and for kind of funerals and things, chrysanthemums are pretty traditional here. So in order to give them a bit of a better go than we did last time and when I lost them, I am planting these with a whole lot of compost, because after a little bit of research it turns out that chrysanthemums are actually really heavy feeders and really like good rich soil. So let's see if we can't give these guys a better chance this time. And so we'll mix this in really well, all this lovely rich compost from my compost heap. And planting these guys in remembrance of all of those people that I have loved and that we have lost couldn't really be simpler. I'm just making sure that the soil level is at the same level as it is in the pot. So nice and level. And just backfill. I'm going to also dress it with a bit more compost before I pull the mulch back round, because these guys really are hungry, and I think that's what I failed to do the last time and we lost all of those previous ones.
This week I'm also working on turning my older compost heaps to let in plenty of air, and I am preparing for and planning more of my hard landscaping. Though it's important to note, don't do any concreting in freezing temperatures, because ice forming in your setting concrete can lead to very weak structures.
The autumn has been kind to me, and we've still got some marigolds which I'm picking to go in a little posy in my house as a remembrance flower, as well as some of the chrysanthemums I'll pick in remembrance of my great-grandmother. So the different flowers really have different significances, and even though, you know, back home in Australia we would celebrate Halloween more than St. Saul's Day, I've come to really love the kind of Croatian tradition of a day of solemn remembrance rather than partying in funny costumes. It's more in line with, I think, my mindset and the way I view the world, I think. So it's I think it's a better fit, even though it's not what I grew up doing. Thanks for stopping by. If you like what we're doing, please like the video. And if you're new to the channel, please subscribe and use the bell icon if you want notifications. And until next time then, do widzenia.